Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wine Women and Words. I am Michelle, and with me, of course, is Diana. And this evening, we have with us Rachelle Yousuf. Am I saying that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. She is the president of the WNBA, the Women's National Book Association. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So I know Diana. Diana is actually the one who told me about the organization, and she just joined up. And you attended your very first event a couple months ago, right?
Was it a couple months ago? I don't even think it was
It
that
was
long ago.
April. It was the end of April, right? It was the tea.
Yeah, my God, that is a
Yeah.
couple months ago
I was just thinking about that as well. I kept thinking it was last month, but then I realized actually it was a little more than that.
now. Yeah. Damn, this year's going by fast.
Yeah, it is.
I don't remember time going by this fast when I was a kid. I swear it speeds up now.
Yeah.
So I'm totally being a bad Wine Women and Words host because I forgot to buy wine today. So we can pretend that this is something stronger than what it is, but it is water.
You need to stock up.
So you guys are going to have to hold down the fort for me tonight.
Got
I
it.
consider switching to coffee, especially after forgetting to send you the link, but that would have made
And I'm working on the Four Sisters that I started last week, which I don't know. I don't think they aged well over the week. I don't know if it's for the show or not. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep drinking it this week. Michelle, did you bring anything with you? Hopefully it's better.
Well, I don't have it with me, but we do have an open bottle of Stella Rosa
Ooh, I love
nearby.
Rosa.
Yes.
Stella Rosa is dangerous. It's
Like juice.
huh?
It feels like juice. Like drinking it
Yeah,
is like juice.
exactly.
Yeah, there's like
Yeah.
no bite to it. You could just sip it with a
Yeah,
straw
exactly.
almost.
Exactly.
And
I
say no if that's
inadvertently,
what you want to do.
yeah. New Year's Eve, I inadvertently took down 2 bottles of that, thinking it was like a wine cooler, and then it hit me really hard.
I remember those text messages.
Yes, Michelle, you were the only one I drunk text.
Oh, that's cute.
So
So you, because you're not on the receiving end of them.
no, they're very. I know they're very few and far between. So when I do get them, I feel special. So, Rochelle, can you give us a little history for people who may not be familiar with what the WNBA is?
Sure, sure. So WNBA nationally was started about 100 years ago. Actually, exactly 100 years ago this year. We're celebrating our centennial. It was started in New York in 1917 for women who were, by a group of women who were excluded from an all-male booksellers league. So they decided to get together and form the WNBA, which is, of course, before the Basketball Association was started. But so they joined, and it became an organization for women and, of course, eventually men who value books. And the thing about WNBA is it's always been not just about readers or writers or anything specific. It's always been about anyone who's interested in books and literature and who makes a living through books or just loves to read books or anything like that. And basically, for me, it's always been about the community of women who support each other in doing those things. The tea that you went to actually is a really good example of that for me. It's always been something that's about community, not just community of the writers who come, but the people who come to listen and talk and things like that. And
Yeah,
so,
I was impressed because I mean it was my first event. So I
yeah,
joined. I found out about the organization through the short story contest, and I
right,
got
the writing contest.
yeah,
Yeah.
I submitted for that. Didn't win, but that's okay. Um, and that's when I found out about it. And of course, I did the membership so I can get a discount on the entry fee.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was everybody was so kind and so warm going there because sometimes with these organizations they can be kind of hit or miss.
Oh,
With
definitely.
some, yeah, not just like literature, but like I've been to like some reptile group meetings that are kind of like, ooh, who's this odd person out?
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody was just so warm and so friendly, and so that's always
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's actually the first event I ever went to back in 2011. I mean, that was essentially why I became involved on the board, is because I don't know if you, Diana, met Ruth while you were at the T, but she's been on the board for many years. But she kind of just turned around and just started talking to me and was like, "What are you doing here? And how did you find out about us?" And it was like almost instant, where she was just so warm and welcoming that a few weeks later I ended up being on the board, and that was pretty much, the start of that. But I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The community is I think really welcoming and very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not, I mean, I will say, not always true in the literary community. Not to like, it can be a little bit harder in some instances, but I've always found our group to be very welcoming.
Yeah.
And I think that there's definitely the cliques. Like I do, well, I've tried to do some like mommy groups to network. When you move to a new place, you want to find people. And some mommy groups are like super cliquey.
Yeah.
So any group that is not that, like, I didn't like high school the first time I went through it. I'm not gonna
Exactly. Yeah. There's no need to do that again. Yeah.
So I really love that. And I noticed that the WNBA does not have a Chicago chapter.
It doesn't, but you know what? There's because I'm also, in addition to being the outgoing president for the Los Angeles chapter, I'm actually, I think, president only for another 17 days. But in addition to that, I'm VP of the national board. And so there's been lots of talk about a Chicago chapter, and we would love to make that happen. But it kind of requires someone to take the reins and make that happen. So if you're interested, you just let me know.
Well, I've actually been talking to, oh gosh, now I forget, Joan and Mary.
Joan, yes.
So it's been in the very beginning stages. I think we
awesome.
all kind of touched bases. It was right after the holidays, so hectic, crazy New Year, busy lives. So, but that's definitely, Diana and I are huge project people.
Yeah, I mean, I think to be honest, in order to get involved with something like the WNBA, it's all volunteer based. So you kind of have to be that person who's just totally willing to get involved and do those things and take charge. So that's good to hear. I'll let them know that I talked to you, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Diana told me about that, and I thought, and as soon as I got her text, I like pulled it up on the website, and I texted her. I said, "There's no Chicago chapter, but there's this thing on the bottom that says like a chapter starter kit. So I'm gonna have to look into that."
Yeah, definitely.
I think when we were going through looking at the organization together, I found the LA one, and I think she and I were looking at for Chicago at the same time. So just when she texted me that, I was looking at that, going, "Oh yeah," because I can never do anything without dragging her along with me.
Well, that's cool though. Did you guys live in Chicago and then you moved here to LA?
Yes, she did.
Opposite. I was in.
Oh, I see.
We were both in Orange County, and then I moved to San Diego and got married. And my husband's in the Navy, so he got stationed out here.
Oh, I see.
And where he goes, we're a package deal.
Yeah.
And I'm up in the LA County area, so.
Okay.
And this is all really part of our plot for total world domination. So
start small, then spread out. Got it.
Yeah. We took our cues from Dr. Strange from, was it Dr. Strange? I'm thinking of the wrong person, aren't I?
Dr. Horrible?
Yes,
Dr. Horrible. Okay, Dr. Horrible.
We take our lessons from Dr. Horrible. And Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. So I've already laid claim to Australia. Michelle's Europe.
We're dividing it all up. It's all figured out.
Yeah, totally works.
I, as a Joss Whedon fan, fully appreciate that reference, by the way.
And I love that you know it, because we've talked about Bad Horse several times on the podcast.
Yes, we've broken out on Twitter, going back and forth over singing "Bad Horse" to each other. And there's a line, Dark Horse, and I swear to God, we like the line only because every time we
Yeah,
say
of
the name
course,
Dark
sure.
Horse, we think of Bad Horse.
So now on Twitter, you'll just get random tags of like lines
Yes.
from Bad Horse.
Totally fine.
So, what made you first get involved in the organization?
Besides the whole friendly stuff.
Yeah,
Besides
besides
that,
Already
right.
covered that.
So when I started when I started Googling when I graduated from undergrad. So when I was about 21, and I was really interested in getting involved with the literary community, mostly because I wanted to work in the literary community. And being here in LA, it's, I think, a little bit harder because, you know, it's not publishing central like it is in New York. So it's not necessarily like easy to figure out where to go. So I started Googling literary organizations in LA, and I found WNBA. I ended up emailing the president at the time and said, you know, like, tell me a little bit more about you guys. And she told me that, you know, I asked her basically if it'd be good for getting to know the literary community. And of course she said yes. So I ended up going to an event that they had at the Last Bookstore in downtown. And it was a great event. And like I said, I just started talking to Ruth, and she just turned around and said, do you want to be secretary? Like 3 seconds after I met her. And you know, being a project person, you know, I said, sure, why not? And then not too long after that became VP and then was president. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty quick, but also really great.
That's really cool that that not only you jumped into it right away, but they also like pulled you into it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the organization, because there's so much history, also tends to have a lot of people who have been around for a very, very long time. And I think we're getting to a place now where we're having both, you know, the people who have the experience, who have been there for a long time, who can tell us about the history of the organization, but also people who are new and can bring that kind of energy and spirit of change to the organization, which if you're going to keep going into the next 100 years, you kind of need that. You know, you need to be able to stay on trend, on topic, and relevant. So I think they were, you know, more than happy to have someone excited about the organization take over. And you know, I have the new president and VP. I think I'm also super excited about because they have that same kind of energy, and I'm more than happy to pass over the reins to them.
And I think just on the history of the organization, that it started before, you know, like you said, before women could even vote.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool that that started, like, especially during a time when women weren't, you know, they definitely weren't encouraged to have a career. They were expected to be home with the family.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, even in like writing, they had to have pseudonyms.
Yeah.
They couldn't be, you know, women writers. It just wasn't heard of.
Yeah, I mean, we say it all the time. Like it's a cool thing to say, and it's also an easy segue to talk about the chapter. You know, it started before women had the right to vote, but like when you stop to really think about what you're saying, it's pretty crazy that, you know, they were able to do, and there are, I think, documents showing like women who were involved in the chapter, like marching for women's rights all the way back in you know, the 1920s and things like that. So it's crazy. I mean, it's a really cool history, and it's an important history.
So does it feel kind of humbling to know that you're president of an organization that's just so experienced? It's been around for so long.
Yeah, and that's honestly, it's been meeting the women who have been involved has been hands down the best part of being president, not just locally but nationally. All those women are they're so passionate about women's rights and literature, and they're so energetic. And every time I go to any meeting that we have, I always leave really energized by the people that I've met and the work that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so the members of the club, it can, or the organization, it can be anything in the literary world. You can just love reading. You can be an editor.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, there aren't really any like quote unquote requirements. You know, we welcome anyone who has a love of literature. And, you know, really, even if you were just passionate about supporting women, you don't even necessarily have to love the reading. You can sort of love the activist part of it as well, which for me has always been really important, like both of those things coming together.
Mm-hmm.
That's like Diana to a T.
Oh, perfect. Well, you know, we're always looking for exciting board members. So if you have some free time and you want to spend it with us.
I might. I have to skip out on the book festival. I was planning on going to it.
Yeah.
Or not the book festival, the event, the summer reading event.
Right.
Yeah. I was looking at my book stack right now, and it's literally a stack
oh my
because
God, yeah.
I'm refurbishing my bookcase, and right now I have this one little tiny bookcase, and I've got these 4 giant stacks of books.
Yeah.
So I know I have no willpower when it comes to buying books.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the last thing I need is to buy more books.
And then as one of the event organizers, I always feel like, oh, it's appropriate for me to buy some. But then I end up buying all of them, and my pile also grows, and it's never ending. And I can't read enough to keep up with that pile. So
Yep. I've got some that I haven't read that I've had for about a year that I haven't read. I'm like, I need to really get to this.
Yeah.
Like with the tea, it was funny because the week before I was at the LA Times Book Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna buy Southland. Because that was one of the books.
Right.
That was there. Just gonna buy Southland. That's the only one I'm really interested in. And then Rufy read our book of the month, Dear Fang with Love, and I fell in love with that. And then I also really liked that. What was the other one? Was
The First Time She Drowned.
Yeah, The First Time She Drowned. And I was like, oh, I really like that. I want to buy all 3. But then I was like, no, I need to have self-control. I need to have willpower. I'm only going to buy 2. That was willpower for me.
I know. I thankfully already had a copy of Nina's book, Southland. So I was like, I can only buy 2 today. So it's okay.
Yeah, spent at the Festival of Books, I think after we tallied it up afterwards, I think we spent about $150 altogether.
Oh, wow.
Not bad.
On books? Wait, just on books or like other things?
There was all books. It was all books. I had my book list of things that I wanted, and then my husband, he's also an autograph collector, so he had gotten Kobe Bryant's book and Bryan Cranston's book, and something else, and I think that alone came to like $90 for those books.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, and they came with the autographs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had my books on top of that, and we weren't coordinating with each other. We were spending.
That's
so
a
I got a call
mistake right there.
Yeah, and it was funny because we were both buying books at the exact same moment, and his card got declined, and he had to go use a credit card. He was like, the money in the debit card, right? So it's like, we did. I just bought books.
Yeah.
That's when you pull out the credit card. Or no, you said the card declined. Then you break out the emergency card that you only touch in emergencies.
Exactly.
Or because I'm secretly like an old lady, my checkbook, I don't know if people still accept that without the checkbook.
Post date it and ask them to cash it like on Tuesday. So when you were at the Festival of Books as a panelist, right? Or did you?
No. I was. We've done before. We've been at the booth. We've been an exhibitor before, but I was not a panelist.
Oh, okay. What is the festival like? I've always wanted to go, and I would always, like, when I lived there, I would forget about it until like the day before, and now I can't go.
You got the really big one coming up in Chicago, so you can't complain very much.
I'm totally trying to work that out.
Is that Book Expo?
Yeah, there's I think it's called Printers Row in Chicago, and it's kind of like the equivalent, I'm guessing, of the LA Times Book Fair. And Chicago just opened its very first Nutella cafe downtown, so I'm thinking that's a perfect excuse to go there.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I plan on coming out to Chicago next year, next June, just for the festival and the Nutella Cafe, and then there's one of the country's best tiki bars is in Chicago. So
That
those
sounds
three,
amazing.
right? Right? Want to come with me? We'll have a total time. We'll have fun. We'll bring
Yes.
Michelle along.
And it'll be, it'll be a part of Chicago's like opening event as like a new WNBA chapter. And as VP of National, I'm gonna have to go.
Yeah. Let's do
Okay,
it.
so let's plan this. We have a whole year to work out the Chicago chapter for the WNBA. And we can have our like launch party at the Nutella Cafe.
That would be
Yes.
awesome.
I love it. I love it. And then after drinks at the tiki bar.
Yes, I love tiki bars. I
Oh,
love it.
you and I are going to get along so very well. My husband and I are very much into tiki stuff. We have our
really?
own, yeah. We have a tiki like bar collection of like all these different mugs, and we're actually going to the Pacific Seas, which for those of you who don't know is a tiki bar in downtown LA at the Cliftons. We're going to be there tomorrow night.
That's awesome. During the day when I have to work for a living, I'm the head of membership at a literary arts and human rights organization. It's called Penn Center USA. It's also here in LA. We just did an event in Orange County in Santa Ana, actually.
I saw that.
Yes, it's the opening of a lending library and bookstore in Santa Ana, but it was all tiki themed, and let me tell you, it was like my dream come true. Everything, like pineapples everywhere, beautiful green leaves. It was amazing.
Almost went to that too. There was something going on, and so we ended up not going. But yeah, it was. If I could have made that one, I would have made it. Tiki and books. It's like
exactly. I know.
So if this is your centennial year for the WNBA, what are some of the festivities that you guys have lined up?
I knew you were going to ask that question, and there's so many things going on that I need to look them up because
you just had an event recently, right? It was like a midweek event with Natasha Dion and somebody else.
That's coming up in a few weeks, actually. It'll be on the 21st, I think. But yes, so every chapter is hosting an event like that. It's a centennial celebration locally. So it takes different shapes at each chapter. But ours is going to be with Natasha and Jade Chang and Lisa Mecham, I think, and I'm like super excited for that. But in addition to those events that are taking place locally, we're also giving out a prize, a Second Century prize, and we're also publishing it's a publication on basically the history of the organization, but also of publishing and women's rights and things like that. All of it worked. It's called Women in the Book World.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's coming out. It should be ready by the time we do our centennial celebration in October. And we also published a list of like the 100 best books written by women. We're doing the WNBA award, which we do every other year. And that'll be announced soon as well. The other thing that we did that was really awesome was we sent 100 books. I think it was 100 books to the White House. Like 100 books written by women that we thought it would be important for the incoming president to read. So we also did that. So like lots of things going on, really exciting things.
That would be an interesting reading list. You should
share
that.
I want to say it's somewhere online, but I'll look that up.
Yes, yeah, I think I heard about it. I didn't realize it was you guys that sent that over to him, but I heard about that. And
I think there are a couple of people doing different versions of that. I want to say at least this was the first one I heard about, so I'd like to say that maybe that is the one that you heard about. But I would love to see if those actually made it to him, and what happened with them. But I don't think we'll ever find that out.
Well, there aren't pictures in them, so I doubt he actually read them. So
Yeah, exactly.
The children's book version of it for him.
Exactly. Maybe like a little summary or something, a short description.
Exactly. Now, have you read Dear Fang with Love yet?
I haven't. It's, it's
Okay.
sitting on the to be read pile, but I know you guys are reading it, right?
Yes, and you can read along with us.
Yeah, I would
You
love
can
to. I
touch
would
it,
love to do
yeah.
that.
Because yeah, we're gonna be doing. Rufi's gonna be on with us at the end of the month,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
yeah, I felt bad because I was like, I hadn't heard from her, and I'm like, crap, I need to really get something lined up. And then I
Yeah.
went and plugged her, and she was like, I'm moving right now, and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry.
She's so sweet. She was so great at the tea. That was the first time I'd ever heard her, read or do anything, and she's so great.
Yeah, she really was, and it was funny because when she started off the book, she started talking about her trip to Lithuania that helped
Hmm.
inspire it, and then she talked about the rape birthday, which everybody just kind of went, excuse
Yes.
me.
Yeah. That was intense. That was so intense.
Yes, and I think I brought it up here too, where she brings up these intense ideas and things in the excuse me.
Now I hear the outside noise.
Yeah, I was like, okay, maybe I can leave my window open, but apparently not. Anyways, yeah, she brings up these intense ideas and concepts, but she does it with humor in
Yeah.
a way. It's very Mary Poppins-esque. I say that because a spoonful of sugar in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Um,
I haven't seen that one yet. I haven't seen it
yes,
yet.
I won't give anything away, but there is a reference to Mary Poppins, and it is hilarious. So it's very it's very easy going down where she's talking about such serious things as how to talk about this father trying to talk about the Holocaust in his family's history with his daughter, and his daughter has this mental illness that they're having to deal with,
Hmm.
and very serious, very oddball Goonies-esque concepts, and it's really well done.
Yeah.
And so you can tell with my book is currently I've got like bends and a couple stains on it already.
It's a sign of a good book.
Yeah.
Yes, I've already highlighted stuff in there too, so it's going to be well loved by the end of the month, I'm sure.
My copy gets here tomorrow, so I'll be diving in. I've had a rare, when did we finish The Undesirables? Last week. So I've had a week of open reading, and I had, you stand in front of your bookshelf and you have to pick one book from your to be read pile.
Yeah.
And the hardest decision ever to pick what book you have to read.
And then there's the panic.
Yeah. And I'm totally fine with Kindles. I'm not against any of that kind of reading, but I always thought, how do you pick a book? Because I do the same thing. I stand in front of the bookshelf, but I feel like there's a vibe that I get from certain books that makes me think that's the next one. How do you get that from an e-reader?
Yeah, it's not the same because I did e-reader a lot for a while, and I do my e-reader a lot on vacations too.
Yeah.
If I'm on a vacation and I don't have a television in front of me, I'm such a fast reader. My record is going through 8 books in 7 days.
Wow.
Yeah, we went to Costa Rica. It was a fishing resort where there was no television, so of course I'm not going to be fishing with my husband. And there were multiple days where I spent just reading. Get up in the morning, hang out on our front porch over our room, and read, and then just move. I went from there to a hammock to the meals because it was all inclusive, to the pool, back to the hammock, and did that for most of the afternoon, and then went back to our room and had finished at least a book and a half by that point.
Wow.
Yeah, so for me, having the Kindle is really helpful for vacations, but you don't really get that same vibe of let me feel this book, let me see.
Yeah.
You actually have to read what's going to happen in the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the one thing that bugs me, and I've done Kindles too, and they're super convenient, but the endings always sneak up on me because you're not holding a book, so you're not aware that you're almost to the end. And I've had more than one book where I swipe and there's nothing there, and you've had no time to prepare yourself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
which is an awful feeling.
Yeah, or I've had to get into audiobooks because I have a really long commute now, and I've actually learned to love them, which it took me a
Me
while to do
too.
that. Yeah, it took me a while to get there, but
Yeah.
once I did, I was like, okay, I get them now. But the thing is, I think I was reading a book called We Were Liars, I think.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, I've seen that on lists and
I
everything.
read
yeah,
that. Yeah.
but there's sort of like this twist ending. But the thing that bothered me is I couldn't go back and see if I missed anything. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't like flip back a page
Hmm.
or flip back to the beginning and see like, oh, was this thing clear at the beginning? Because it was an audiobook, so I couldn't do that. So
Hmm.
like as much as I've learned to appreciate them, there are sort of those drawbacks to the different kinds of mediums.
Yeah, and there are some books that work really well as audiobooks because yeah, I'm in the
Yeah.
same situation as you. I have a really long commute, so I listen to audiobooks. Like I tried to do Good Omens by Neil Gaiman on
Hmm.
audiobook, and I just
Do it.
couldn't follow it at all. Yeah, and but like I just did Lauren Willig's that summer. I just finished that
Hmm.
one,
Hmm.
and I was able to follow that no problem at all, and it was worked out really well. And then the two books, because we're doing a month long giveaway since it's our birthday this month too.
Yay! Happy
Yeah,
birthday!
oh, 1 years old. We're like toddlers and stuff.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome. That's awesome.
We
so we're
kind of
gonna
know what we're
do.
doing now, a little bit.
Yeah, imagine Michelle 100 years. Pass the torch
Yes.
on to Lily.
Back and watch our early episodes and go, oh my gosh, that was them.
But yeah, the two audiobooks that we're giving away this month, we're doing Dido's Crown and The Lemon-Collie Life of Annie Astor. I think they're going to be okay for, especially Dido's Crown for audiobook.
Mhm.
And I think Lemon-Collie, tell me if I'm wrong, Michelle, if you agree, if you don't agree with me, but I think Lemon-Collie Life of Annie Astor would be pretty easy to follow along with for audiobook.
I think so. I think for audiobooks, I've only listened to one. I mean, I don't have any commute. But so, and if I'm in the car, I'm, singing The Wheels on the Bus. So, um, but I think it really comes down to who they pick to narrate it,
Hmm.
I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for The Melancholy Life of Annie Astor, whoever narrates it, as long as they read each character distinctly, I think it'll be fine.
Oh, interesting.
I accidentally
Yeah.
bought one that sounded like a female William Shatner. I was like, I picked it up and I was like, I'm just going to buy it and not do the sample because you always got to do the sample on an audiobook. And I didn't listen to the sample and I just bought it because it was cheap. And I was like, oh, good God, I couldn't do it. It was painful to listen to.
Do you ever do the library audiobooks? Because that's how I do it. You
I
do,
do. I
yeah.
haven't done it recently because my library card, it got expired.
Yeah.
Sadly enough, so I needed to go back in and like renew it,
Yeah.
and I hadn't gotten around to doing it, so I just did the Audible
Yeah.
subscription. I need to go back and do more with the library because libraries are very important.
I agree. And also, like, hello, free audiobooks.
Exactly, free audiobooks, free books in general.
Yeah.
I kind of rediscovered libraries a couple of years ago, and I walked in and picked up my books, and for some reason I had been in a library for years, like not since I was a little kid. And you check out your books and she just hands them to me and says thank you. I'm like, you're just gonna give these books to me? I can take as many as I want.
What made you decide to go back? I'm curious, like what sparked that?
It was right after my daughter was born, and I was just, it was honestly, I was looking for free fun. It was a really tight time for us, and I was like, okay, let's go to the library and see
Yeah.
what's going on there. And now libraries are like, we're always there. And I
Yeah.
can tell you, like, which library has the best kids section in Lake County and who has the best story times. Probably I don't think I've ever gone into like my section of the library. but it's really hard. It takes me so long to get through a book just because, you know, I have 2 kids and I can't read very often. That library books don't always work for me because I have to give them back before I've even had a time to open them.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, buying books can get expensive.
Yes, yes, they can.
But it looks so pretty on my shelf.
Once I get my shelves done, they're gonna look very pretty too.
Now I need to buy a new one pretty soon, I think, and I have no idea where I'm going to put that bookcase.
Yeah, I have such a behemoth that I'm actually planning on doing a blog post about how writing is like refurbishing a bookcase. Because I mean, this thing's massive. It's floor to ceiling, and the tenants who were in the house before us, they painted it black, and it was this beautiful cherry wood. And yeah, it was because it was my husband's family's. It was a family piece.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been, for the past 2.5 years, I've been sanding it down and taking off all of this paint, and I'm almost there. I'm like this close. So we're at the point where we can kind of fudge it. But yeah, I need the bookcase bad.
So when you go to meetings, are there ever or events, are there ever times when you meet like an author or someone in the literary world that you totally fangirl over? Where you're just like, oh my God, I love your book.
You know, I feel like when I first started doing events, or even before I started doing events, even just as a person going to readings, I always felt like no matter like how small or famous the author was, like I had that same kind of reaction where I was like, oh my God, it's an author. I'm talking to an author. But then I think, you know, between WNBA and then my job at Penn, I feel like I've just met so many that maybe I've lost that a little bit. It's not as crazy as it used to be. I'm trying to think if there's any, because also a lot of times like I'm with people who whose books I haven't read yet, you know, because like with the TA, I haven't read those books necessarily. Sometimes I have, sometimes I haven't. I will say at Penn, we did recently an event, and we've done it a couple of times now with Roxane Gay. I think I had a fangirl moment with Roxane Gay. So yeah, I think that's probably like the most recent fangirl moment I've had.
I think for me, it's if I've connected to an author's book. If I read it and I really love it and I've really connected to it, then I have the fangirl moment. Gwendolyn Womack, I think Michelle and I might fangirl over. Already.
That's going to be a huge fangirl moment, just one giant fangirl episode.
She wrote the book The Memory Painter,
Mm-hmm.
and I fell in love with that. And I was supposed to. It was funny because I had to review it for because I do historical fiction book tours. Mm-hmm. And I forgot about the deadline for it, and it was within like 24 hours. And I was like, oh crap, I've got to read this book and then fake my way through this review, because I never do that really. So I read I was like, okay, I'm gonna push through it, and then before I know it, it's like 1:00 in the morning, and I am like at the last chapter. I've got to get up for work in 5 hours, but I've got to finish this book because I was so madly in love with it. And then she just came out with another one, The Fortune Teller. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to the coordinator for historical fiction book tours, and I thought the book blast that she was lining us up for was actually the book tour. I was like, oh, I love a copy. I love her book. And I totally fangirl over Gwendolyn to the coordinator. And she was like, I'm so sorry. It's just the book blast. But here, I'll put you in contact with her. So I ended up having my fangirl moment. And I kind of warned her because she's going to come on When Women at Words later on in the year. Yeah, and I was like, she's kind of been warned that we're going to fangirl a little bit.
I think it's totally allowed. I was thinking about it though. I remembered at the Festival of Books a few years ago, I met John Green and totally freaked out because I think he's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a worthy fangirling moment.
Yeah. And then, have you guys ever read Dietland by Saray Walker?
No.
I've seen it. I haven't read it though.
So for Penn, in addition to doing membership stuff, I also run our book club. And hers was the first book I had picked. It was actually in April, I think. And last minute, we were able to get her to come. And I mean, I love that book. I think that book is amazing. I would definitely recommend it. Especially, I think if you like Joss Whedon. I'm not saying that the tone is similar, but maybe like the sort of theme or topic that she deals with. It's about this woman who's overweight and who meets this group of people who try to convince her not to do this weight loss surgery. But also, and while that's happening, there's like this feminist terrorist group going around wreaking havoc in the world, and it's really bizarre but super great. And so I met her in April, and that was amazing as well.
That's
I think mine was, well, two. One was we had Lynn Povich on in March. She wrote The Good Girls Revolt.
Oh, right. I've heard of that.
And she was one of the women who went through the lawsuit. So it was like twofold for me, because it was about the women in the 60s into the 70s who sued Newsweek for gender discrimination because they wouldn't let them be reporters. And she was one of the women who joined the lawsuit. So Diana and I flew through that series on Amazon, texting each other back and forth the whole time that we're watching it. And then found out it was, based on, and found out that, there was a book about it. And we thought, why don't we try to have her on the show? What if she says yes? So we were obsessed with the show, number one. And then number two, she's a hugely crazy, wildly successful journalist. And that's what I'm a journalist too. So, leading up to the episode, I'm like, oh my God, these questions have to be so good. They have to be insightful and thoughtful and, detailed. And I have to have all my names and my dates straight. So
yeah, she had like 50 questions, and I just sat back. There's some episodes where I just sit back and I let her take the reins because she has so many questions. And I knew this was one where she was just completely fangirling. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna be here for ambiance and just to witness and watch. And she just had a blast with it.
Yeah,
so much fun. And the other one is Emily Giffen, because I just adore her. And I went to one of her book signings, and I almost forgot my words. I did, but it was a close moment. So, Diane, I think I went through my list.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're just sitting here having fun talking about books, and so we're almost at the hour. I figure it's probably a good time to talk about our giveaway that we're doing. One lucky person is going to get a copy of Dido's Crown, which I have over here in my pile of books that hopefully won't fall now that I pulled this out, because it's like a Jenga. So here's Dido's Crown by Julie K. Rose, who Julie's going to be on the show next week. We're going to be visiting with our authors who have been on during the year, some of our greatest hits, because everybody who's been on has been wonderful. And so we thought we'd ask back some of our favorites that we had the most fun with. And we just clicked with Julie. And so Dido's Crown, she just did the audiobook version of this. So that's going to be released next week. But after the show, we'll have the link up. So for Rafflecopter, so you can be anybody out there can join in and try to win a copy, the paperback copy of it. And then next week we'll have the audio available for a giveaway. So enter now, and then it'll close on Wednesday, and we'll announce the winner next Thursday.
No, we're like a real podcast. We have giveaways and raffles and.
I know, what's this stuff with us being professional and shit? I'm gonna throw in more swear words now so I don't feel too professional.
Diana emailed me earlier today the lineup that we made for our very first episode. I was like, oh, I feel like we should frame this. We really didn't know what we were doing. I mean, we're not professionals by any stretch of the imagination, but we at least have a structure now.
I just like an excuse to drink wine and talk about books.
Yeah, and sometimes you just have to do, and see what happens.
Exactly. And there's been a few times where I've taken down a whole bottle during an episode. I had this cup. My husband had this one specially made for me. And we discovered, it was hand done, so it's got an octopus here, and then our 2 dogs.
Aw.
There, Anarchy Woodworks in Texas. So we had this done, and we discovered on air that it holds a half a bottle of wine. And Michelle dared me to drink it all, and I did, because Mama didn't raise a quitter. So yeah, that's the way we roll.
Those would be episodes where we don't really have anything lined up, and it's like, we'll just wing it and talk and see what happens.
We're excellent tap dancers.
And those are the days that it makes Friday so much harder to wake up in the morning.
Maybe for you, I'm a champ. I don't know about you.
Please, I am not the champ that I once was. 1 glass of wine is enough for me. 2 is like, oh my God, I can't believe I drank that much last night.
Yes, I am the horrible influencer. Right now, I'm your enabler.
Yeah.
Your weekly enabler.
Right now, I live through you.
Wow, such a heavy burden to bear.
Well, I think we might be at the end for this evening. But we're doing Dear Fang with Love. Diana, do you know what the chapter breakdown is? I don't have my copy yet.
I don't, because her chapters are weirdly numbered, because, that's just how oddball this book is. Because there's some, wait, here we go. 13, there's 13 chapters. They start with, no, I take it back, hold on.
We're so professional.
15 chapters. So there's 15 chapters, so we've got another 4 weeks, so figure what?
Like, do 4 chapters a week, I would say.
Dude, I went into literature and law because I don't do math, okay? Barbara says math is hard, and I do not function with math. I function with words. And sometimes even that is hard. So, yeah, 15 chapters, somewhat of some breakdown. I don't know, just read. It's an easy read. It'll be a fun read, and I think, right now, okay, just let you know, Michelle, right now I'm on chapter 4. Okay. That's where I'm at. I slowed myself down because I knew we were going to end up reading this, so you have to at least get to chapter 6 by next week.
I'll try.
Because that's where I plan on being. Same for you, Rachelle.
Okay, I'll do it. I'm at this point, I think this would make 3 book clubs. I think I'm constantly reading.
Yeah, I've got 2 books going on. I've got this one, and then I've got The Girl in Disguise, and then I have an audiobook. So I always have an audiobook going for my long commute. Yeah. So I just started in Farley Field today. So I've got 3 different books going on at the same time.
I've just entered the world of multiple books at once, and it's... I never liked it before because I like focusing on one story, but I can't, if I'm ever going to read all the books that I own, I'm going to have to start multitasking. Otherwise, it's never going to happen.
I think I was talking to a friend about this last night I went out to dinner with another paralegal colleague, and we were talking about it, and she, before she became a paralegal, she couldn't do multiple books because it was hard for her to catch up. And I feel like for me, reading multiple books helped train me to be a paralegal, because I can hand my boss a file and I can give him the whole plot summary of the drama that's happening with said file. So I feel like this is business work training for me.
Perfect. Is that what you tell him when you're reading at work? I'm training.
I don't read at work. I don't know what you're talking about, Michelle.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I was confusing you with someone else. My bad.
You totally are. Not cool, Nard. Not cool.
Well, thank you so much, Rachelle, for joining us this evening. We really appreciate your time.
I had so much fun. Thank you for having me.
And I'm sure we'll cross. I mean, I know you and Diana will definitely cross paths.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll cross paths at a launch party in Chicago next year.
Maybe. That would be awesome.
Make that happen, and yes, and you and I'll talk some more, and
Yes,
you'll
I would love
definitely
that.
see me at other events too.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you. Have a
night.
good night. Bye.